Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, and today I'm showing the ending, or how I finalized the sunflower burning. I did a 30-second recap just to pop in from the live. I'll put a link up in the iCard so you can go watch the live and hear what was going on during that. And now we're going to get started with the final. So with this, I did continue with the Walnut Hollow with the shader that I did adapt. I discussed it in the live. I shaved off or sanded off the ballpoint of the tip, which made it easier to use. I used all angles of this tip. Right now I'm using the very end of it on a lower heat setting to get in the darker areas of the petals. I am going to come back, and I did with the live this week, on adding color to it. I did have to pull out the torch several times, and I also, through this process, did some more etching out of the carbon, but I didn't include that in this video. The torch will pop up here in a few minutes, and that's just for context. Right here I'm using the actual heel inside of the tip in order to get more of a dry brush, just kind of skirting across the top grain. I didn't want it to be fully burned, and that allows it to be a little lighter. And I'm trying to separate the petals, get the shading where the shading needs to be, and make sure I preserve my highlights. The paper towel, again, is just to protect my hand in order to keep the carbon from smearing all over the place. Now I'm back in with the chisel. I'm just trying to get some more of the carbon out in areas that I want a little bit more defined, and then I'll go back and burn up next against them. I did find that this angled chisel, though it's flat, it's still angled, worked very well at pulling highlights out. Now for a few minutes I was using the tip in different ways, trying to figure out how I liked it the best, how smooth I would get, whether it was with the tip of it, the heel of it, or the side of it. So right here I'm still working with the tip and tightening up and using the side. I do start using the heel more. Here I'm using a spoon. Subscriber Andrew had mentioned it in the live, and so I pulled out this plastic spoon to see about smoothing down some of the grain. It did pretty good. I'm still going back in with the torch to fix all that. I did go back and forth using the torch and the chisels to darken my darks and lighten my lights. I pulled most of that out of the video because I really wanted to focus on finishing the burning. This is where I'm going around the flower. I'm starting to tighten up the burn and get rid of that halo. And at first I'm just using the tip, but then I realize that the butt or heel of the tip, here we go, works really good at flattening out and burning at the same time, giving it a little more even burn. So I went around the whole flower using the side and the butt of the, or heel of the tip to tighten up and get rid of the halo. I did have this on high heat, and here in a moment you're going to see me put on a glove. I didn't have a choice. The black area of the Walnut Hollow gets where the grip is, gets extremely hot. That is where the choke point is, I'm assuming, inside the pin. And so if you actually move back behind that area, it's not as hot. So I'm burning flat and my fingers are okay as in the heat rising. So for you guys watching, I spend another minute and a half sped up fixing the halo around the flower. For me, it was a good 15-20 minutes, if not more, of me just really focusing on trying to smooth the grain, even the burn, and make everything blend together. That was my biggest goal for the halo, was to make it blend. Now it's time to really focus on detailing the flower even more. There are splits in the petals, and right here I am trying to make sure that the stem in the background still shows through. It gives it more depth, and I'm going completely hot again on burning that. Oops, nope, it was a trick. Not detailing the flower quite yet. I'm still working on the halo and trying to make things look like stems and leaves, and making sure that there's no halo up against it. I thought I'd finish because I was bouncing around, but I am bad about that. If I see something that's bothering me, I will go and stop what I'm doing and fix that, and then go back to it. Okay, now we're back on the flower petals. I am trying to separate them to and shade where the more inner petals would be, and make sure that separates them from the viewer's outer petals. The viewer outer petals is going to be lighter and more highlighted than the ones inside, and petals do overlap. Now I'm really keeping a close eye on my reference photo. The inside by the center of the sunflower is really shaded, and so I struggled to not go too dark, knowing I'm adding color to it. And that was my biggest issue, was trying not to go too dark, but getting my darks in there, because the marker and colored pencil are only to be accents, not the main spectacle of the piece. Now, if you watched the live last Wednesday, you already saw me start coloring it. Well, this is how I got to that point. I've got music on, and I'm just burning away. I'm looking at my reference photo, looking at my petals. There was a lot of pauses that I took out because I'm stopping, just trying to figure out what petal I'm working on, because the lines can get a little blurry if you don't remember how your pattern looks, which I didn't. Several of these petals are turned in or kind of folded in, and there are shadows within that gives it the more realistic, when you're burning, the more realistic aspect of a turned petal. And you really have to pay close attention to that, because not only are the shadows important, but the highlights are important too, so that the information transfers to your viewer's eyes correctly. For me, this petal really wasn't standing out away from the rest of the petals like I really wanted to, so I went back and forth on it multiple times, using the side of the burner to kind of get a more, what would be like a dry brush effect, in that you're just lightly sliding the side of the tip across the grain, and that works really well on getting that lighter detail. One thing I really wanted to mention is it's important to move your board in the closest angle to a comfortable way to hold your pen. Don't try to do acrobatics, to get in these weird contorted positions with your hand to burn. Move the board and you will get a smoother, more even burn in the area you're working on. I do recommend that if you're using the Walnut Hollow shader and you're trying to burn flat, but the ball tip at the very end is kind of putting hot spots on your board, definitely sand it off with 600 plus sandpaper and kind of smooth out the brass bottom of the tip, and you will get a much even contact to the board, and that will ensure a smoother burn. One thing I just thought of is when I was doing the high heat, because right now I'm back to medium and medium low, but when I was doing the high heat to get rid of the halo, I did not have an issue with carbon sticking to my tip. So if you're and this is basswood, if you're having a problem with carbon sticking to this tip on high heat, it may be that you are using a board that is got a higher sap count. Pine is really bad about that, so you might want to change your board. Well, this is going to be wrapping up. I hope you like this video and kind of let you see how I finished it finished the burning before the live this past Wednesday, where we added color. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our wonderful community. The channel is now at over 1,000 subscribers, and I want to welcome everybody who's new and has recently subscribed. Thank you. We're happy to have you. Also hit that like button and leave a comment. Happy burning, guys. Bye.